So you already know that thoughts have a frequency, and you already know that there's leverage in choosing thoughts on higher frequencies. But I want to bring it into terms that could maybe be more leverage. Um, this has helped me tremendously over the course of my life, understanding that I do have an inner being that is thinking thoughts that are always of a high frequency. I have a higher mind that is thinking thoughts of a higher frequency. That's all it does. Only I can think thoughts of a lower frequency. In fact, the lowest frequency thoughts my inner being can have is the threshold or the entrance point of me as a person. So I can choose to either have thoughts that mesh with that high frequency of my inner being, which will vibrate all kinds of wonderful things like that into my experience, predominantly clarity and a feeling of worth and a feeling of satisfaction and joy. Or I can choose thoughts that are in a lower frequency that don't jive with the thoughts that my inner being is thinking. So that's why when so many teachers say that the best relationship, the primary relationship that you have in your life is between you and you, it means that it's between you, your physical thinking mind, physical thinking thoughts, and your inner being thinking thoughts, your higher mind thoughts. And so we do have a choice in any moment to think whatever thought we want to. But usually the thought that wins, not the thought we want to win, usually, it's the one that has more practice. It's the thought that has more momentum. And so what I've learned is you can significantly control what thoughts have airtime, therefore gather the momentum. And that's why my favorite teacher, Abraham, says, in meditation, they teach no thought, because it's easier to have no thought sometimes than to have a pure positive thought. But as you reach for these thoughts and make them the more dominant thoughts that you think, that momentum becomes something that you can ride on, just like you can ride on the momentum of a negative thought, and it's kind of like, you're on the highway to hell, or it's uncontrollable, or those thoughts are usually the ones that trigger the anxiety or the fear or the doubt, and really impede us in, that journey of joy that we want to be on, that we ought to be on. So your inner being is something to think about. Your inner being is a stream of consciousness as singular as you are, yet it also has connections to all other inner beings, to all of Source. But you can't, activate a frequency outside of the one that your inner being is already holding for you. So, you can, which is just like an oppositional thought to it. And you feel that tug of war with the negative emotion and then negative experience that manifests as a result of that momentum. But I just want to share that, sometimes we can leave out the fact that we do have an inner being that is living a life just like us. I guess you could say living our high life. and wants us to receive that high life, as they say, you know, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So allow your inner being's world to become your world, and you do that by blending with your inner being, and that looks like thinking the thoughts about the subjects that are active in front of you like your inner being thinks about those thoughts. But it's hard to get the thought first, so you really have to make it an emotional journey. Because if you can make the emotion important, if you're feeling the negative emotion and you're willing to change it, that attitudinal shift will change the thoughts that you receive, and you'll come home, as they say, the homecoming, and you'll begin to think thoughts like your inner being. And the benefit of that is just you feel replenished, you feel clear. Wow, as the sun like just came out. That is so cool. Yeah, you feel replenished, you feel clear, you feel like the light is touching you. You feel unstoppable, you feel backed up, you feel like you've got intelligence under your wings. You've got a cadre of intelligence around you that is here to serve you. And it is, because it's your inner being. It's you. So remember, when you're thinking in terms of changing your frequency or raising your frequency, all you're doing is toning yourself to your inner being, toning yourself to your higher self. You know, you're not going to tone yourself to a higher frequency that is outside of your inner being. So just put that name on this journey and remember that it's a relationship thing. Otherwise, it may be very easy to get deterred and, discouraged and say, well, I can't raise my frequency. Everyone has those eras, right, where you just like give up. But from my experience, I found I don't give up, because it's a relationship with my inner being. It's a relationship, and I can't escape it, because I am it. It is me. It wants it wants me to receive what it has. And what it has is everything that is important to me, or that I have come to desire through the clarifying experience I'm living in the physical life. And that's the whole purpose of being born, is to have that, split aspect of self where inner being stays vibrational, where desires become real for them. And the thrill of the whole experience of consciousness is to allow the receiving in physical form of those energies, of those thoughts that turn to things, wonderful, wonderful things. I get on little tangents with manifestations of like signs, synchronicities. I call it streaking. Like I'm on a winning streak, and it's like, oh, what next? I can't believe it. What next? What next? And so that's what you want. And when those things happen and you're on your streak and then it kind of ends, don't get discouraged. It's okay, right? Every breath is not an inhale. Exhale is part of the breath. So remember, ebbs and flows, but it does not have to be unpleasant ups and downs. It can just be ebbs and flows. Oscillate between satisfaction and exhilaration. This profoundly changed my life when I began to learn this and apply it to myself as a method actor. And in fact, the last film I worked on, when I was having this spiritual awakening, it really rewarded me in the performance and at a film festival. And I use that to this day as an example of manifestation, and that I know that this is the work. The work is to mesh my thoughts with the frequency of my inner being. And I don't do it all the time, and no one really does. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And the easier it gets, the more you do it. yeah, so I hope this brought a little reminder, if anything, to you about raising your frequency and remembering that you're not raising your frequency as a physical person just randomly. You're bringing your frequency up to a higher frequency that is already included in you, in your inner being, because your inner being stands there as that frequency. And you can't attain a higher frequency that your inner being is not. So that relationship needs to be, it needs to be identified, and it needs to be important, and it needs to be celebrated. Cool. So yeah, I hope you're having a great day. I hope this video um, brought some clarity to you. I hope it helped in some way. It helps me to share about it because I have these realizations all the time. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.